All right. We black again, family. We got some fire, man. Matter of fact, let me get this background together. I ain't switched the background up. Let me do that real quick. It don't take but a second. Let me get it in there. Bingo. Bingo. There we go. There we go. There we go. Did the Mayan and Olmec predate the Mayans? I got redate in there. I got to change that. I'll change it. I'll change it when it in. Okay. Now, for many people out here who don't know, and I'm gonna show people, I kind of went over this, but I'm gonna get into the history of these two guys, who are predominantly the authors of the modern that the Mayan predate ancient Egypt, uh, and the primary guy to the left, and I'm gonna get on him. Now, I've already done this lecture. I've done this before the so-called explosion on the Aboriginal, and I had already done this when I was dealing with the Moors. I had already addressed this when I was dealing with the Moors. You see, let me see if I can shut some of these. Uh, Let me shut some of these. I got so much shit up. You could tell that the computer be like, nigga, would you shut some of this shit down? Like, nigga, you got so much up. The damn computer struck. Let me shut some of it down so I can get a little energy. Get a little energy. Okay. Now, just so y'all know, we're gonna get into it. What up, family? Okay, so what's crazy? Now, this guy, Augustus Plongeon, Augustus Plongeon. I got this book. You know what? I didn't know him, but I was collecting books for so goddamn long. I was just anything on ancient history. And I had this book on my damn I had this book on my damn shelf for so long. I was gonna get rid of it. But then I didn't even I still haven't even realized yet until I started doing the lecture and I say, damn, I got that book. I got that book on my damn shelf. Augustus, you can see he's a Freemason. But this is the primary guy that started talking about the Mayans. He went down there and excavated. He was one of the first excavators down there. The ship was still primarily under the damn yeah. We understand that. We understand that. We understand that the Mayan, but we have to explain. Just like explaining through the Israelites. We know the Israelites is a construct. To rewrite shit. Just like Serapis is the same thing. But we have to explain through that, and I explained that the majority of what they call Mayan is actually Olmec. That the Mayan ain't did nothing. That's Olmec. Them damn tribes, when they got there, it was already standing. They didn't know that shit was out there because if they was the original people, I'm glitching. I'm glitching. Let me see. Let me see. Let me get up here. Let me get on here. Let me see. Let me get Okay. Let me see. Okay, I got a little okay, it's looking pretty good. All right. We're gonna work out. Okay, we're gonna work out. I'm up there. I'm looking at it pretty. Let me see. Let me put it right there so I can see. Okay, so okay. So we talking about Augustus Le Plongeon, and let's see what this guy is about. This is the man that created all that. Okay, and so you got was a British American archaeologist and photographer who studied the pre-Columbian ruins of America, particularly those of the Mayan civilization on the northern Yucatan Peninsula. Okay, while his writings contain many notions that were not well received by his contemporaries and were later disproven, Le Plongeon left a lasting legacy in his photographs documenting the ancient ruins. He was one of the earliest proponents of Mayanism, which y'all, but now you want to use the Olmec, but it's really, okay, we understand the Olmecs is the oldest, but all you doing is taking a philosophy and replacing the Mayan with the Olmec. But it's his philosophy. You don't have no blacks that was saying nothing of the sort. It was the European that came in with that. Okay, it was the European. Show me the books. And there we go. Don't come to show and tell with nothing to show. Okay, show me the writings, even if they indigenous writings. Show me the indigenous writings where they say that. They wouldn't even, and they would have had the known of Egypt to say it predate. You would have had, they would have had the known have known of Egypt, or why would they say that they predate Egypt? Well, they would have had to have known of Egypt to even say that. Okay, and so by the 1880s, while most Mayanists accepted that the Mayan civilization post-dated ancient Egypt, most Mayanists, that means it don't make no difference. We know that the structures are Olmec, but it do not make a damn difference whether it's Mayan or Olmec. They do not predate ancient Egypt. The science in itself, when you look at ancient Egypt, when you look at the pyramid, you know for a fact that it's hundreds of thousands of years of architectural development, hundreds of thousands. There's nothing in the America, there's no man on this goddamn continent. It was ice. You see? It was ice. And this is where y'all killing me with this shit. North America was a part of the fucking Arctic at that point in time. Okay? Which is a fact. And we can go over that too. So Le Plongeon stood by his theory, so he was outdated. He continued, even most Mayanists tap, which you should tap. Don't try to put an Olmec mass over Mayanism. That's what you're doing. You're putting a mass on it. You're just replacing it with Olmec. He cited his years of field work and studies archival sources and challenged those he considered armchair archaeologists to debate the issues. However, as evidence mounted against cultural diffusion, Le Plongeon became marginalized and his theories fell further outside the growing mainstream of Mayan archaeology. Okay, Le Plongeon insisted that the symbols of Freemasonry could be traced to the ancient Maya. And see, that's what I'm talking about. This man is crazy. You can't even show me no blocks, but he talking about, I just showed you what masonry is. God damn. Even when you go, matter of fact, let me see if I can, let me show you something. I'm gonna refute this Neanderthal. Let me see. Do I got the Freemasonry? Let me see. If I don't blow this damn computer up, this motherfucker probably hot. Let me see if I can get this lecture to come up. Let me see if it might not even come up. I might got too much shit going on. But anyway, and so he's a Freemason, and that show you right here, the European don't know nothing about Freemasonry. Because why would he say that when he know damn well they have never found any tools in America that are required by masonry. No square, no ruler, no damn plumb line, uh, uh, the leveler. You ain't found none of that. So what would make him believe that the symbols of Freemasonry could be traced back to the ancient Maya? And you got all that, the tools that been found all over Egypt, proving that. You can see them on the wall. Matter of fact, it opened up. Let me see if I got the tools that they found in ancient Egypt. Let me see if I got the tool. He's a fool. He don't know what he talking about. I love busting these Neanderthals up. Let me see if I can get in here and get this. Hold up. Even Freemasonry will refute his ass. Straight up. I'm glad I got in here too, so I can pop off. Okay, let me drop this in here. Now this come right out of ancient Egypt. Wait a minute. Oh shit. Where it go? Fuck. Hold on, y'all. Here it go. Right there. You see the square? You see they call it the cubit, the ruler. Hold on. That's how they squared the blocks. You see, that's how they squared the blocks. Hold on. Look at this. Now you got the square and then you got the plumb line right there. You know what I'm saying? Now, what's that right there? That's the plumb line too. You can see them right there. That come right up out of, I mean, come on, man. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, man? You see the square and you see Osiris is sitting on the square. He's ruling on the square to be righteous. Man, I don't know what's going on, man. I only know what's going on with General Seti, man. Real talk. Uh, you know, real talk, man. Real talk. I don't know what's going. Nah, for him to say that, I just want to drop this in here. So when you listen to this, when you go to now, this is for him to say that. I'm just gonna do this real quick, and you could. This is the Scottish Rite Freemason lodge in California. You see, in California, and you will see all the great architects and grand masters in all the world. You see, in all the world. And I'm gonna show you this. You see the second one. You know who the second one is? That's Solomon and Hiram Abiff. But everybody keep talking about masonry is built. No, it ain't. You know who number one? You know who number one? I'm gonna show you who number one. I'm gonna show you who's number one. I'm gonna show you right now. That's Zosia, even though that don't look like that's Zosia and Imhotep, number one. So what the fuck is he talking about? He don't know what the fuck he talking about. And then uh uh here you see again, and you talking about Freemasonry. You see the mallet, huh? You see the mallet right there, which is, oh, wait a minute, here you go too. Ain't that what they use when that D, I forget what that is. That's something like when you go to a driveway when you want to smooth it out and shit. I think that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? But you see wait a minute. You see the plumb line. That's the plumb line. B, the level. You put that on there, and if it's level, I guess it'll be right up the middle. Okay. C, the square. D, the trial, and E, the mallet. So this is masonry. This is found in Egypt. You can't use none of that on that stucco shit. So right there you show, and I just threw that in there. I ain't gonna blow y'all mind with the Freemasonry, but just let it not be known that I got lectures on every fucking thing. So I could just open up a can of whoop ass on a nigga in every subject you could think of. Okay, so the Plongeon insisted that the symbols of Freemasonry could be traced to ancient Maya, and that the ancient knowledge had come to Egypt from the ancient Maya by way of Atlantis. See, there you go. So they creating this mythology. There is no Atlantis. There has never been any Atlantis ever found anywhere on the planet. The only person in the ancient world that ever mentioned Atlantis, the tribe, was Plato, who is a fictional character. They have no original scrolls or books from Plato. So you making shit up. You making shit up. Atlantis is like Disneyland. You know, Disneyland more realer than Atlantis. So they saying that when Atlantis, where actually they try, because Atlantis is supposed to be in the Atlantic Ocean, you know. So you know, some of them say that the Mayan came from the Lemurians, okay, which was in the Pacific Ocean. The LePlongeons named kings and queens of these dynasties and said that various artworks were portraits of such ancient royalty, such as the famous Chocmool, which the couple excavated at Chichen Itza. Okay. Now, let me see. Is there anything else left? Okay. The Queen of Moo, who fled to seek refuge in the land of Moo, also known. So he's saying that the land of Moo, also known as Atlantis. Okay, okay, but see, but that's where depending on this is where James Churchward and LaPlonge John different, because James Churchward said that the land of Mu was in the Pacific. Okay, that's what he said. And but LaPlonge John, I guess, believed that Atlantis and the land of Mu was one and the same. Okay, but there is no land of Mu. There is no land of Atlantis. Okay, much of what they talking about the land of Mu was islands and things out there, but they were also an extension of the greater Kushite empire. But they was on the fringes. They would not have ever been as advanced as even India and things of that nature. Okay, so you know, and then you got this crackpot, a church word. I believe, you know, I got a little more knowledge on him. You know, according to church word, Mu extended from somewhere north of Hawaii to south as far as the Fuji's and Easter Island. He claimed Mu was the site of the Garden of Eden and the home of 64 million inhabitants known as the Nakals. Its civilization, which flourished 50,000 years before Churchward's day, was technologically more advanced than his own. He said that the ancient civilizations of Babylon, India, Babylon, Persia, Egypt, and the Mayas were decades remnants of Mu's colonies, which is bullshit. That's their way of explaining all them Kushite empires that existed before the white man. So they had to create another civilization, a fictional civil, so that they could take credit for it, or you know, steal the legacy from African people. That's all that is. There ain't never been no damn move nowhere on the planet. And it said, and listen, the church word down here claimed that the ancient Egyptian sun god Ra originated with the Moo. Okay. And so but this is what these Negroes is coming. This is who they getting this from. All these people. Now look, I'm gonna show you the map. I'm gonna show you a better map. You see Moo over here in the Pacific. Well, this one also show, and it show how in it show. Now you see that Negroid. Look at that. They saying the Negroid came from Moo too. Yeah, and that there was different races of Lemurians, and when Moo sank, they saying that remnants went into the North America. That's where you get that lake, or what's that, Mount Shasta and all that shit. Yeah, and when they show you the maps, it looked different than this. I guess when it broke apart and shit. And you see how Atlantis is over here, but this is a church word. So he trying to say that Moo and Atlantis is two different, and you can see how they supposedly came to South America, and create, and I guess what you call the Maya. And that's crazy because when Plongeon and James Churchward was writing, they hadn't even found the Olmec yet. So that show you right there, they was, they totally is irrelevant. Nah, they been irrelevant, but they totally, because uh 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 they didn't even think of the Olmecs, because the Olmecs hadn't even been uncovered when they was doing, when they went to well, when LePlon John went to Mexico. I don't think James Churchward, I think he said he went over to Tibet some damn where. And so they showing that it was some sea in the middle of South America, and you can see where they sail from and this look like motherfucker went straight. How in the fuck you gonna sail all the way? You just selling. You don't know where the fuck you going. So they didn't went all the way over to Israel, Egypt. This is ridiculous, man. This is a bunch of bullshit. Ain't no Atlantis. Ain't no. Do you understand? If it was a landmass this big and it had sunk, it would be no problem to find that kind of stone up under the water. It would be piled up like a motherfucker. It's no way possible. But once you understand, how this land is and all that granite and shit up under this, how the fuck something just gonna sink? You know what I'm saying? Even if it fall down, that's just like a pyramid. If the motherfucker fall down, the stones is still gonna be there. You ain't just gonna, it ain't no way you gonna just get rid of no megalithic stone. So if a goddamn continent that goddamn large sunk up under the water, it would be no problem to find that continent. As large as that is, that motherfucker look larger than North America. Man, please miss me with this bullshit. Please. Give me, thank you, family. I ain't see you out there. Thank you, family. Appreciate you very much. I appreciate you. Sure do. And so, but this is where they're getting this from, and the Negroid that they talking about was in the Americas first, came from Moo. But this is a fictional story. This is who they trying to say is the indigenous, is from Moo. But there is no Moo. There's no Moo. Okay? Sorry. There's no Atlantis. These was fictional. And then once you understand all the root races, even before Moo, there was other kind. You had what they call Hyperborea. You had what they call it's 7 root races. I think we on the 5th race. I think the first was the Etherians. Okay, the first was the Etherians. The second was the Hyperboreans. The third was the Lemurians. The fourth was the Atlanteans. And the fifth is supposedly the Aryans. And then you got some fruit, two future root races yet to come about. Okay, yet to come about. And so once you understand that, then okay, I'm done. Okay, I'm done. And that's why you get some of these niggas when they say they Moors and they say Moor and they spell it with the U, you see. And then when you say, well, I say the Moors was, they say we not that kind of Moor. And then I say, oh, wait a minute. And then when you go into the comic books and you look at that one, what's his name? The Submariner. What's his name? Namor. Namor. You see, Namor. So they that kind of more from Lumeria or Moria. You see. So I say, oh, y'all some under the water niggas. Yeah, y'all some under the water niggas. Yeah. Yeah, y'all some under the water niggas. Namor. You say Roman. Yeah, that is. Yeah, you ain't that something. Yeah, ain't that something. That's that's a hell of a word play right there. But that's where you get Namor, okay? But that's all, but that's the move. Okay. So I say, oh, y'all under the water niggas. And so that's what they believe. They believe they from Lumeria. That's where they get the move from. Or the more. You feel me? So go right on here. Y'all can play comic book, Marvel comics and shit, and y'all can, and I'm all right with some occult. And when I'm ready, I like to, go off into another dimension every now and then, but I'm solid though. I don't go, and I like to read, and I like fairy tales sometimes, and I read the fairy tale just to see what they talking about and see if I'm entertained. But then I come back to solid reality. I can't motherfucking believe in no goddamn crazy shit like that, especially when there's no evidence whatsoever to back it up other than what's made up in the modern era. They don't have no Moo, they don't have no Atlantis, and the evidence of civilization in America is sketchy at best outside of the Olmecs. It's sketchy. You see, it's sketchy. Meaning it's a little here, a little there. Other than that, it's not like in Africa where you got megalithic temples and structures from one end of Africa to the next, from east to west, from north to south. You don't have that in Americas. You got pockets. You got pockets, sketchy. Here in Mexico, you come north of and they say it was something here. It was, yeah, it may be a couple of things here and there, but it's not megalithic, meaning it's you don't have to search through the grass or the jungle. The shit is so high in the sky that you can see it from afar. You can see it, that's megalithic. They didn't reach that level. You can go anywhere on the planet. You can go to even Greece, but that's African. They got temples. You go to Rome, they got some shit over still standing. Even though them goddamn barbarians knocked a lot of shit down, they still got some standing. They still got but Rome is more, 0 AD, little bit before, but majority of it is post, AD, but India still got a lot of megalithic shit. Even Angkor Wat over there still got some, monuments standing. Champa, Vietnam, they still got some shit standing. It's visible. You ain't got the, but when you come to, North America, it's mounds. And I'm not taking away from mounds. All continents got mounds. All continents got mounds. That was, mounds is Kushite. You find the mounds all over the planet. Even the Etruscans had mounds. The Chinese had mounds. Even when you deal with the ancient Egyptian creation story, the primeval mound. You see, the primeval mound. And so, but that's The beginning of civilization, that's ancient, but they developed past that. And so, in the Americas, they never really got past the mound. They never really got past the mound. And that's not saying it's ain't, they just never developed past. And it's not that they didn't develop, they got here late. They got here late, man. Goddamn, they got on this continent late. Even if you say they was here 10,000 years ago, that's still late. 10,000 years ago, that's late. Man, do you know they got graves in Africa, over 75,000 graves. Graves. We got to stop this shit, man. But anyway, is it possible that the Atlanteans and Lemurians came from Africa and founded those nations and they were destroyed by war? I mean, it could be. Well, I mean, that's a better way of explaining it than the way they explained it, because at least in Egypt and in Africa, you got evidence of science. So, it could be explained that way. It could be explained that way if you choose to. That's what happened. You can call them Atlanteans and New Lemurians if you want to, if that's what you choose to call them, but that's the way it happened anyway. They did. The Olmecs came from Africa. The technology that went into the pyramids in the Americas came from Africa. It wasn't as advanced, but what was in America? Now, let me say this first and foremost. I don't want nobody to negate the Olmecs. The Olmec civilization is one of the most of mind-blowing civilizations on the planet. So don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. It is profound. It is profound. But that just show you how so mind-boggling Egypt is. Because it's light years beyond that. It's light years beyond that. So that I'm not taking nothing away, because that is our ancestors. And I study the Olmecs damn near as much as I study Egypt. I study them all the same, really. The Naga Kushites too. I study, those three primarily those three cultures. And when I say Egypt, I'm talking about Nubia and Aksum included in that. I include all African civilizations through the Nile Valley. You see, and so all of them is mind-boggling. But see the difference, and I'm gonna get out of here. When you look at India and you look at Egypt, you looking at masonry. You looking at masonry for real. But then when you start getting up like in Sumeria, the Olmec, and it gets less advanced. That's the reality. But anyway, I'll see y'all in a minute. Get over to Patreon, click that link, man. See, I'm giving y'all, and I didn't even touch on what a lot of the stuff I could have touched on. I'm gonna come back. I'm just getting back into my groove of things, and so I got to get back on the lectures and tighten them up. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna see in a minute, it's gonna be mind blowing. So stay with me. But it's a lot of lectures on my Patreon. Go over there and get it. And I'll be right back, man, for the last lecture for this evening. Hey, man, get this knowledge from the hood to the Holy Land. I'll be right back. Yeah. What is this person saying? Hold on, family. What is this person saying right here, man? Let me get this person up out here. Yeah. Ray got their ass out of there. I was about to clip that person. No, you didn't. Yeah, let me get that person up out here. Bingo. I don't know who that is. But is that Shaka up there? I didn't see Shaka in there. It's 107. I didn't see Shaka in there, man. Come right black, man. Come black, Shaka. I'm about to do one more, man. I didn't see Shaka over there. Oh, he's on Facebook. I didn't see Shaka. He on Facebook. Okay, I'm coming right black, y'all. So stay tuned. It's gonna pop right back up. I see y'all in a minute. Black pop.